And we're in.
We live?
We're live, yes.
Mish. Welcome to chatWater D&D, the show where we chat all things Blackwater D&D. What's the best part, Yanis?
The best part about last night was the fact that
You mean Saturday
waited.
night?
Yes, sorry. I just got back from a 50K run, like I told you guys. The best part about Saturday night was I told you guys I gave you guys way too little notice that we were going live. And it came in with M going, "We're live," and then Sean going, "We love long gangly men," and they did not get any of the preface.
Big tall gangly men.
Pre-lead, yeah, they did not get any of the conversation leading up to that. And you said it in a way that was like trying to explain what we were talking about as though they had walked in on us. And it made it even weirder by the fact that they had not.
I mean, I really
it's not weird. It's not weird.
I think that's the throwback to like when we originally started streaming. We would just press live and just keep talking about what we were talking about. There was no welcome to Blackwater D&D. It was just like, here's the middle of our conversation. There's a group of 9 of us who are talking about something like.
Well, before you had the intro screen, there was no way to know when exactly Zoom decided to make you live.
No. I mean,
it would say it was live, but it wouldn't
truly be live. I think that's really one of the. I mean, there's been a lot of really nice things that have been possible with OBS. One, it's like slick and like so pretty and like
so slick.
Oh, so slick. And I've gotten to learn a new program, which is always nice. I feel competent in that, and I like designing the overlays and stuff. That's something I really enjoy. But it allows us a little bit more of like a little bit regimented of like, okay, now the wait sequence takes this long and this takes this long. I still need to learn how to actually edit videos and Photoshop. That is a goal that I'm gonna try and teach myself Photoshop, because mostly
by the time you learn how to do it, we'll have people who do that.
This is so true. Because fun fact for the folks at home,
why learn anything when you can just pay people to do
it? I can just throw money at the issue. Yeah. A fun fact that a lot of people might not know is I make everything in PowerPoint.
Listen,
because I'm 12.
No. When we were in high school, and I say we because this might not include Sean, but when Em and I were in high school, PowerPoint was sold as the software we needed to know to solve all of life's problems.
That and
the
Excel,
amount of time,
problems.
the amount of time. Well, no, Excel worked out because you can solve like Excel is so complicated and can do so much, and I have no grasp of it. But I spent a lot of time learning PowerPoint because I was told that I would be doing PowerPoint presentations all the time.
In my
we had whole classes where we were told we were gonna we had classes on just how to do PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I have not used PowerPoint since high school.
I use PowerPoint all the time.
But yes, but for designing our overlays.
And also for my job.
Unintended uses.
I mean, I give presentations on a regular basis. I get paid to do that.
So it worked out for you. It worked out for you.
Yeah.
To be fair, nothing I learned in high school gets used in my job.
I don't use a lot that I learned in high school for presentations, but I use a lot of macaroni paintings for presentations. So my kindergarten presentation skills have really come together, because that's the thing that really impresses us when you put the personal touch and you say, this is my presentation. The presentation is spelt with like seashells, and then the body of the work is actually with those little macarons.
Listen, seashells I get. Like when you're making when you're a kindergarten or of the younger years, even if you're the older years and you want to decorate something, seashells I get. But what monster saw dry macaroni and went, but maybe art?
I meant seashell macaroni, obviously. Here's the thing: the different macaroni
maybe that was the branching. Right. They were like, I wanted to put seashells on this because I wanted to evoke the sea, but I don't have seashells. But I do have seashell macaroni.
Also, I need to do a presentation.
The timer has not started yet because we're talking about macaroni art.
This is the punchline. I need to make a presentation about my heritage. My dad is Italian, and my mother is a daughter of Neptune. The ocean and pasta come together. This is my pasta shell art.
Okay. And now we get to start talking about last
Callie died. Callie died. Only for a second.
No, but wait. There's a marinara trench joke in there somewhere.
Very good. Very good. I had a moment last night where after we were done the session, where Tim and I had like a real like Stefan moment. I was like, this session had everything. It's had some lore drops. I cried. And then I'm covering my mouth. Callie died. We had some fun times with an obstacle course. Clack and Yana were cute. This episode truly had everything. And then
Clack and Yana were super cute.
I know, they're so cute.
And you know what was cute? The cutest part about Clack and Yana is it was mainly Yana driven.
I know. I
love that, because it is one thing to have the person who has the crush drive the sort of the romantic flirting. It's another to have the crushy sort of start to banter back.
We love to see it. We love to see it.
Very, very excited about it. Yes. No, it really did have everything. I mean, I was surprised we got to anything other than obstacle courses based just purely on time. I also realized that a lot of this second part felt very much based on me. You had an elf who was very good at running, and then you guys were attacked by owls, which was literally like my previous weekend.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, when I got attacked by the owl while I was running. It did not have human teeth, but
you could see.
Not that I could see. It's true. It didn't smile at me.
No. I think that I know we were talking about this last time. It's like how to do long range travel, because this is like a week and a bit of travel, and we are 2.5 days in, 2 days in to travel. Like we left, if I calculated it out right, I think it's the evening of the 12th of Peldavin. So I think it's been 2 days.
Which is the most days you guys have covered in a session in a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, I was looking.
You guys are living life on fast forward at this point. We're gonna wrap up this campaign by the summer at this point.
We're speed running the Shadowfell is what we're doing.
You really are speed running the Shadowfell.
I was like, oh man, Neppy, because I knew I had to take off my armor. I've been thinking about that since last week. I was like, I can't wear my armor. I was like,
you could have if you'd found that jelly in the ice thing.
We didn't have time for that, and then I would have had to take in the jelly back and get the armor made.
But now you got to go back.
We have to go back and get Finnan at some point anyway. So I can go in that rock, fight the matriarch jelly, go take my armor to Felorian and be like, please make it quiet.
Please fix this.
Please fix it. Make it badass.
The best part is you're going to make it quiet, and then Callie's still going to be loud, and it's not really going to solve much.
She can silence her armor once a day. I can't.
Well, why is she not wearing her armor then?
Because it's only a once a day thing.
It's only once a day.
It's not for the whole day.
No, it's like one
stealth check.
One stealth check.
I think we can all agree that one major mistake was made last night. And that was, Emma, when you decided to enter the obstacle course, just to be like, it's time to go to bed. Because as soon as one other character entered the pairing obstacle course, I was like, oh, now it's open season. Once one person busts into the sacred circle of Callie and fucking Kokanee being sillies, she's like, I'm doing it once. I was like, that's it. If you're not sending him to bed, then Letters is up too. He hears it. Yeah, we're getting Yana, we're getting Clack. The whole gang's here for this.
I was like, no, it'll be funny. Neppy, who never participates in anything, never for the late night drunken shenanigans. Neppy's the first one to say, go the
Mom
fuck
says
to sleep.
We can. Mom says we can.
Yeah, Mom did it. Mom fell the fuck flat on her face.
And then regretted it after.
And then took 2 shots. No, it was lovely. I think that it's like, that's what we do. That is like the I love it, battle giddiness. It's just like we know we're going into some shit. And even if we didn't know how bad it was going to be, because I don't think any of us foresaw Callie dying at the end of that session, I think it was just like, let's have this wonderful group of people blow off some steam, and then they're gonna go and, because we forced the hand of a beach episode, and it turned into a couple episodes because we needed a break from how intense things were with the Matron of Vengeance. And now we're back in the shit. And now we're back in the shit again, and we will continue to be rocketing through things and like until we get to Cordelia and figure out what the hell's going on there.
I told you that you wouldn't be able to resist talking to the old member of your order. I mean, you didn't dig her up and talk to her skull, but I knew you wouldn't be able to resist trying to communicate with her.
Oh, that was always the plan. I just wasn't going to dig her up and cast Speak with Dead on her, because that seems not great. I'm not going to dig up a body of a 2,000-year-old skeleton.
This is not meant to sound like a slight to Jen at all, but Jen always surprises me when she chooses these very select moments to bust up this really beautiful role play.
That's so good.
And it shouldn't surprise me, but it still does, because she's so quiet generally during the game. She's very, very quick to let other people have the floor. And then occasionally she finds these spots to just do some of the best role playing. I mean, she had that great moment after the Velsoom fight, but for me, this one about the necromancy not fitting anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a beautiful moment. Like, I love the party's at a really interesting place for quite a few members, where they're finding that the roles that they initially envisioned themselves in and put themselves in, that they're not fitting like they used to. And I think that's a really sort of like a cool, because it's kind of aligning, because Callie's just gone through that, and now she's still kind of dealing with that, with the fact that the Baron might be back. Letters is going through that in a sense where, he's dealing with the idea of representing something and ownership and allegiances. And then Spooky last night with her, it just doesn't fit right. It was such a wonderful metaphor for so many bigger things that people face in the real world, about putting yourself in roles because those are the roles that feel available and they never fit properly. It was just such a wonderful metaphor.
Or the roles that you've been embodying for so long that you wonder if you actually are allowed to change them, or you have the space to change them. I thought it was such a beautiful moment and perfectly timed. Yeah. And it's so interesting too, because at the beginning of the campaign, I know we've talked about this a bit, but it's not like Neppy ever held any malevolence towards Spooky, but it was very much your magic is different than my magic. Not maybe a little bit of a kind of
mine is better.
Mine is better. Mine is the better necromancy, because Neppy was quite rigid at that point.
Yours is the approved,
by
the
my
approved
order,
necromancy, yeah.
Right? And if
Nephisticate brand necromancy.
absolutely,
Can't beat it.
Absolutely. But there, I think, and that goes with Neppy's transition around coming away from that, black and white thinking into accepting the world in shades of gray, is that she understands that even though folks may use necromancy, it's not always for the typically thought out reasons of it. Looking at how Yana's magic has changed is so beautiful, and I can't wait until Tim and Jen drop the homebrew.
There's something coming. Yeah, there's something. Yeah. Well, there's something coming.
They're working on, and I love that's what's something I love about Tim's DMing is he's so open to working on that kind of stuff. If stuff doesn't feel like it fits, he's like, then let's change that up. Let's make let's make the mechanics fit the narrative, because if narratively it doesn't, that's the kind of campaign we play, right? Is if the narrative doesn't, or if the mechanics don't fit the narrative, then the mechanics can change. It's not like we're, zaps drop to them. We don't have to we're not handcuffed to that, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah.
No, it was a beautiful moment, and the whole fight was great too. That was a wonderful mechanic, of switching her with the, what was it, the skeletal jester?
The grim jester. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to Tim a little bit about it after that fight. It's we were fucked the second they were switched. We were immediately at a disadvantage. It puts us 3 rounds behind, right? It put us a couple steps behind. And I think that we were screwed the second that the charisma save was. And then when both Callie and Yana, or when Callie failed the save that she laughed and went unconscious, that was because no matter who would have healed her, because there was that moment where Kokanee was choosing whether to fight or to heal. If he would have healed her, the same thing
still would have done damage. Yeah.
I feel like some of our party, because this was if when it got, because I came after you, Neppy, and so if it was Letter's turn, Letters was just gonna straight try to stabilize, because like that's still always an option, right? If people are dying, you can always be like, and Letters isn't very good at it. I was gonna see how it was gonna go, but like
medicine check, stabilize, yeah.
You can't fuck that up. Like no one can take that away from you. I don't think
Tim could have found a way.
And but I also don't know the creature statistics too. It could have been a thing where you couldn't stabilize her.
I guess that's true.
Grave clerics do have the ability to do like spare the dying, which stabilizes someone as a bonus action and ranged. That's like something I can do, which was something I was considering. But it's like we needed her up, like because I didn't know how strong this thing was. We didn't know, and I was like, we need her up. That was my logic behind it. But like thinking back on it, it was like whoever would have tried to heal her, even if it would have been a healing word, it would have done the same thing, right? It could have been a healing word. It could have been a life transference. And like Neppy is now going to have to deal with the emotional ramifications of what's happened because Callie was unconscious and she doesn't know it was Neppy, but Neppy knows. And Neppy knows it's not her fault. Neppy knows it's not her fault. And she would be the first person to like.
Callie doesn't seem like the kind of person who would hold it against you.
No, God, no. And I don't think Neppy thinks that. But this is also the very first time that Neppy's had her magic manipulated. Like she's had her healing magic canceled, but she's never had it manipulated towards doing harm to somebody. She's very comfortable with, especially with life transference, doing harm to herself to heal other people. That is like very, very second nature. That is the essence of that spell. And I know when I was creating Neppy as a character, I was flipping through the cleric spells of like kind of seeing like, oh, what kind of magic do I want her to like? Because I'm a person who wants to make the magic fit narratively too. I don't just pick spells because I like the spell or it does a bunch of damage. I pick the spells because they narratively fit. Like there is a handful of cleric spells I just won't use, even if they're good spells, because they're not on brand for Neppy. But I was like, life transference. That's going to be her spell. That is kind of her touchstone spell. It's the thing that like she sees it as it's a sacred part of her magic. Like she is giving part of her life essence, choosing to hurt herself.
That's even how you guys pray, right? By cutting your hands. It's like the sort of self flagellation kind of thing, right? Where that's how you pray, that's how you heal.
It's the cost, right? Yeah. Like that's the cost of the work. Knowing how powerful that magic is, realizing that it comes with a cost and you have to pay it. And so, like, I think the priestesses of Nephthisiket understand that everything has to have a balance. So if you are doing this healing magic, if you're using the magic that Nephthisiket gives you, you have to be aware of the cost. And you have to pay the cost. If this is the magic you want to wield, this is like, especially around like clerics, as a cleric, like if you're going to be a powerful cleric. But I think, yeah, and she and Callie are going to have that conversation. That is actionable and at the table. And Len, I know after session last night, Len was like, Emma, I just want to talk to you about it. I was like, I know, but it's A&A. Like, it's A&A. It's at the table. And I'm fine. Like, I'm super fine about it. Neppy is not, but I'm fine.
Well, I kind of feel bad for Tim because like our game plan is Tim is gonna throw a bunch of stuff at us and we don't want to engage with any of it. And like that's the thing because I'm assuming that 12 is like a random encounter thing. Like what is the Shadowfell thing you encounter? And he's gonna be like, here's some owls with teeth, and we're like, we don't want a part of that. Skeletons bowing to a chair, we don't want a part of that. The jester's coming to get you. Okay, we're gonna have to deal with that. But like, it's like it kills me as a player to be like, no, Mr. DM, we're not having fun with you today.
But I think there's that. I think that it's a yes to that, and there's also the things that he's gonna like. Tim is so flexible in the fact that like yeah, he knows we're probably gonna sidestep all of it, and he's also gonna put things on the table that we can't sidestep. Like
I know,
but it's yeah. I was like, oh, an encounter table. Oh god. Anytime Tim makes a table, I worry. Anytime Tim makes a table,
it just goes against every instinct I have for a DM to be like, here's a point of interest, and to me to go, I'm not interested. Like that feels so wrong on like a deep level. But you're right. We can't skip that laughy skeleton with his jester hat.
Maybe that comes from gaming as a concept. Like we're taught in like video games that like all of those side quests, like you can skip over them to go to the main storyline, but at some point you're going to loop back and do that side quest, or there might be that really special thing if you engage with that one thing. So I wonder if the ethos around like the kind of the FOMO or the like I feel weird about not engaging with this thing that the game has set up for me comes from more traditional things like video or computer games.
Well, it's funny you mention that because
bad at the side things because I never did them.
This is the thing. I originally started out as a completionist, but recently I feel like I've had a much healthier relationship where I was like, are these side quests fun? Nah, I'm like, follow the fun. But for D&D, is if there's a point of interest that a D&D's like, DM's like, hey, look at this thing. I'm like, oh, you've clearly built a thing around that. Like, I love trying to catch the DM with their pants down and forcing them to the soup monk. What's your name? Yeah. You know, like that. I love quartermasters. Like that's always fun for me. But anytime where it's like, you know, they put up a thing, I'm like, oh, and especially with someone like Tim, who I know does so much work. I'm like, oh, I know there's something with that. Like you've done a thing, and it's like my friends, you know, putting up a play or something and me just not going, where it's like, you've done work. I want to see what it is. I want to play in your space.
I wonder if too sometimes, like I even think about when we were in hell, that other portal that we didn't go see. He'll bring
try not to think about it.
He'll bring it back.
We can't know that.
We don't know that, but like I know
not in the same context.
I know
it's gone.
I know
that's
Tim
light.
As a DM though. I know he
if it's important, he'll bring it back.
He'll loop it around. And I think that's the wonderful thing about the storytelling and the, you know, the collaborative, improvised, sandboxy nature of this world that we play in. And I think that there's a lot of times in D&D is like, you know, they talk about like, oh, sandboxes and railroading as these two dichotomous things that never the twain shall meet. But I think, you know, a lot of engaging and really compelling D&D campaigns have aspects of both. That it's just like you've got like bowling lane bumpers where like, yeah, you could walk away. Like we could just fucking leave the Shadowfell right now and leave. But we don't.
Absolutely not.
We don't, because we're narratively bound. Like our characters have drive and we're narratively bound, but we could.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? There's nothing stopping us from doing that.
Other a great example of that.
The multiverse. There's that too.
A great example of that is the first season of Adventure Zone. Like that, his campaign that he ran was very railroady. Like he ran it almost like a TV show where they had little mini arcs that told very specific stories with very specific outcomes. But it was also sandboxy in the way that they didn't really follow D&D rules. Like it's a D&D podcast, but I mean it's very loosely D&D. It was very much like, we want to do this, and he'd be like, yeah, sure. So like it was very, you can have both.
Absolutely.
You just have a sandbox in a railroad.
Yeah.
Something when you're talking about leaving the Shadowfell, it does occur to me that there is a worst case scenario where it's like, oh no, if we biff out of Shadowfell, we like effectively can't get back in because like we don't have a you know, a tuner to it or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm like we've done a lot of like just traveling and whatnot, but this feels like quite high stakes in terms of like we have to travel well because we can't just come back.
No.
Like, well, I mean, you can just go see a planar docent.
Yeah, but they're bad news.
There's a dude who could take you straight there.
Yeah, I know. See, like I know me as Emma. I know what the totem is. I know what the totem for the Shadowfell is. Neppy doesn't.
One of the teeth from the owls.
You're absolutely right, Yanis. No, it's one of the blossoms from Gloom Theran. It's one of the flowers that grows on the tree. It's a great.
Oh, they were just pruning those off. We could have got one of those easy.
It's called a grave blossom. But that's what my warlock has in the other campaign. She has the ability to plane shift, and that's what they use. Well, and the party that was there 4 months ago, that was the other party. Yeah, so I got all excited. And they fought a shadow dragon. It's cool. There was a shadow dragon attacking them.
What does a shadow dragon breathe?
I think it is. Was it psychic damage? God, this was played out like 8 months ago.
Oh, that's nightmarish.
Psychic damage or acid? One of the two. I forget. Or it might have been necrotic. It might have been like a necrotic-y breath. It was a con save, I think, if I remember right.
The shadow felt so bad.
It's so bad, y'all. And it's just weird. And like, I love the concept when Tim was talking about like things, because the planes often kind of collide or mishmash with each other, that things just get stuck there and can't go back, and then get so manipulated warped by the nature of it. I was like, oh, and like you could, and you know, the concept of the Feywild and the Shadowfell often being like the antithesis of each other. It's like the same thing could happen in the Shadowfell. Stuff could, you know, pop over to the Shadowfell and the saturation gets turned up, everything gets wild, kooky, crazy, and then something gets pulled over to the Shadowfell and shit gets dark real quick. It's fascinating. I'm super curious about the city of Hakas and having to go through there with the gate through the Dread Range. And I also just love when Tim is so gracious with me and like sprinkling in the Neppy lore all over the place. And like when he brought in Neppy's Nepthysicet's panther, I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, even that one got me where I was like, oh, yeah, that's the cat lady's number one cat.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, Bast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I was just like, oh man, because that's like, you know, Tim and
that's like,
go ahead, Giannis.
That's like being like, you know, you work for the NBA and you have a pickup game and you're like, hey, we just need like an extra person for the team. You got anyone to spare? And then like LeBron James shows up and you're like, oh, okay, yep.
That's like when Bast was like, yeah, I'll need vitality to sustain me here. I was like, absolutely, 100%. You can.
That's also how LeBron James works.
Yeah, apparently.
That's why he keeps switching teams. He just like the support staff just shrivel up, and then he has to move to the next team.
I was like, you can fucking take whatever you want. I will pay you literally anything. You can have whatever you want. You name your price. And
that's what they say to LeBron James too.
Yeah, that's probably true. So Bast is LeBron James.
Has anyone seen Bast and LeBron James in the same place at the same time? I don't think so.
This is what I was saying about Prince Philip and DMX. Has anyone ever seen them in the same place at the same time?
No. Yeah,
I never have. I never have.
Oh my god.
I feel like we do have to test this theory, not yours, Yanis. It's a bad theory. Don't say it again. Don't you do it.
Don't do it. But I
feel like we gotta pass a basketball to the cat and see if it's got hoops.
I mean,
like
just like bats it like a cat bats a ball of yarn.
It's a swish swish. It's just done. Dunks it. No, I think
I want.
Have you seen the trailer to the new Space Jam movie?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
It's good. Looks good.
It is.
Yes.
Looks good. I just don't like the fact that they're not.
Right?
I don't like the fact that they're not cartoons.
This ain't your granddaddy Space Jam, Yanis.
No.
They're 3D. They have fur. I I'm with you, dude. I hate it when animated characters have like realistic fur. Like,
and they
when
also
I was like,
they made LeBron James a cartoon when he was no, he should be human always, and they should be cartoon always. That was the whole gimmick.
I'm just hearing that the both of you need to go watch the original Space Jam again and just relive.
Whoa, why do I need to watch? Look, I know how to slam. I'm here to jam. No. Look, I'm pro new Space Jam. I'm just saying that the original Space Jam already exists, and like, look, he clearly, Giannis, I don't think you watched the trailer close enough, because they have them in cartoon version, and then we clearly see them like translate into the internet world where they become animated.
But what I'm saying is, when he meets them in cartoon version, he's also cartoon, and I'm saying Michael Jordan was never a cartoon. He was always a normal person.
Giannis, you're missing the deep lore of Space Jam. In Space Jam, Toon World is an actual place because it's aliens, and they have to go there. In New Space Jam, clearly it's an AI, and they're going to the forgotten area of the internet, Toon World. So, like, this is like, it's all a simulation. It's all like AI stuff. So,
does he go to the old Space Jam website? Because that website was still in existence. They've updated it now with the new movie, but it was still in like original 90s existence up until recently.
That's probably what happens. And as you know, if you've been there, you have to get your own animated avatar to play the fun little Flash mini games and shoot hoops with Bugs Bunny.
So we also realize we're going to take a complete side detour in this campaign, and we're just going to play out Space Jam in the mansion.
Tim threw at us, welcome to the Gloom Spire, or as I like to call it, like the kitchen. Or I don't know enough basketball term. Like, I get out the fucking, what do basketball people call the court? The Gloom Court. Fuck, I don't know. I don't know about hoops. All I know is Space Jam. But if it was all just one big basketball court and we just had to put together a crack team to fight Cordelia Shade and her crack team of Monstars, I think.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good thing.
Neppy playing basketball, dear God. We have reached our time talking about.
Thank Christ.
We reached it 3 minutes ago, but I didn't want to catch up. So.
Second mistake.
I'm gonna turn this stream around right now.
This is what happens when Mom joins in on the bit.
No, please.
I'm gonna roll that intro.
Join our bit.
And we're back. Sean, are you ready for your art along?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh,
we got this.
Oh no, my notes ran away. No. Oh, good. I don't think I lost anything. The stream didn't leave me. Okay. So, a big thank you to our sponsors, Legendcraft, a nerdy woodworking company from Calgary, and Silverwing Armory, selling paper products for all your RPG needs. Check them out, and if something tickles your fancy, enter the code Blackwater at checkout for a discount. Love as always to our dice goddess Keisha at fairydragon_dice. Her commissions are open, so DM her for all your math rock needs. Our campaign artist is Tiana Kovacevic. She made those ones. She does all of our art, and we love her very, very much. So if you want art done by her, go message her on Instagram and get in on those commissions before they close. She only takes like 4 or 5 spots a month, and she is just one of the most amazing artists to work with. So go get in there. Go get art done by her. Do it. Do it now. If you love wonderful, amazing places on the internet, come hang out on our Discord. Our Discord is a delight. Type !Discord to find the link in the chat and come hang out. But while we're streaming, hang out here in the Twitch chat, because that's where all the cool kids are. We just had like a huge influx of people to our Discord, so thank you everyone who is new for joining. It's a pretty wholesome, delightful place. Something that I think is always really cool is when people feel really comfortable to ask questions about D&D mechanics or the lore of our universe or all of that kind of stuff, and there's so many people willing to engage and chat and all that kind of good stuff. So if you like wonderful, wholesome D&D spaces, please come hang out with us there. A big thank you to folks who subscribe to us. Don't forget to re-up your subscriptions because they don't roll over every month. Also, Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription to Twitch a month. And if you choose to spend that on us, Well, thanks. Thank you so much for that. That's really great. We're also just really grateful to have you shown up week after week, and a special big thank you to those of you here, our lovely chatcolytes who come and hang out with us. And many of the chatcolytes are part of Lore Club. Do you want to get involved in chronicling the history of our campaign from the beginning to now? You do, because you're great. Our amazing mod, the New Experience Network, has set up a community lore project. So type !lore in the chat and you'll find a Google form that you can come get involved. And if you're on our Discord already and want to become involved in Lore Club, super easy. Just head on over to the Lore Club section and the Lore Elves on the Shelves channel. You can come and message us, and we chat there about lore on an ongoing basis and all the updates to the document. As well, Lore Club is going to be involved in our chatWater Quiz Bowl, which is fast approaching. We will be giving more details about it next week and what that is going to look like, because today, my dear friends, we're going to get through the lore. We're going to finish
Impossible.
Today. No, we're
chatWater will never get there. That's our phrase.
I'm going to have to make me redo the fucking overlay to say we'll never get there. No, chatWater, we are going to get there. This is
chatWater. It's about the journey.
It's not the destination. Because it's almost been a full year of chatWater, which is amazing. We started early May. I think it was the first week of May that we started. So this is really exciting. Our programming this week, we are our Wednesday shows are back for the month. So Wednesday we are welcoming the GM Tim to Behind the Screen, and the GM Tim is a local Vancouver dungeon master who he DMs for private campaigns. He's a DM for hire.
Also, really cool. He DMs Fierce Adventures,
yes.
Which is a live drag D&D show.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and so for that perks your curiosity, you gotta check out Wednesday's shows. We got the DM Jim coming in.
He also hosts Quests and Queers board game nights here in Vancouver, and because everything is on hiatus now with COVID, because a lot of them were in person, he is currently streaming Star Trek online and Star Trek: The Lost Voyages using the Star Trek TTRPG system. He's a DM for Adventurers League. He is a writer and runs games at cons and play tests for League and Dungeons and Dragons. Like, this guy's awesome. And as we talked about on Saturday, the Venn diagram of cool DMs, Vancouverites, and Tim is just a circle. There's two of them. So please come hang out with us on Wednesday.
And maybe after Wednesday, there will only be one.
Whoa.
I can't promise a blood sport, but I can infer it.
8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesday, so please come hang out with us. And then, of course, we are back on Saturday for our main campaign, and we will let you know about some of the upcoming programming that we have for the rest of the month. Then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, a big thank you to our mods, of course. Without you folks, we couldn't do this thing the way that we do. They hang out in our Twitch chat. A lot of them are mods over in our Discord as well. So a big thank you to these folks who volunteer their time simply because they love the community. And trust me, when it gets to the point where we can start hiring people, we will to come do this work. So we're just so grateful to everyone who's a part of this wonderful community. So whether you're new with us tonight or whether you've been with us for a long time, thank you so much for being here. And just like we would do this kind of stuff anyway, whether like nobody watched or because I know we talk about this a lot. Sometimes I go back if I've missed stuff in the lore, or sometimes just to like look at our earlier streams and kind of see where we come from. Our very first stream, we were all like, wow, there's 7 people watching. Which is always such a majestic thing, and now we're
it was mostly just us, because we also had the Twitch windows open.
Yeah, and like Tim's mom and my dad.
That was it.
Yeah.
It was
Do you think
that's where it started?
Absolutely.
The FBI agents that was like assigned to us is like stoked that like now we have a community that like they can be a part of, because originally it was like just them listening in on our games, and they're like, oh my god, what are they gonna do? They're going to the Scar again? No way.
I got no one to talk about the last episode with, and now he's all up on the Discord.
Our secret FBI agent. If that's you, secret FBI agent, we love you just for who you are. So thanks.
We know you can't present yourself, but we do love you. We appreciate you've been a fan right from the start.
Yeah. It's the FBI and CSIS, which is Canada's version of like the FBI working together. So I think that is everything. Sean, what do you have for us for your art?
I feel
today?
really good about tonight.
Whoa.
I want to depict probably my favorite part of what it is to like be a part of Blackwater D&D, and it's like doesn't happen every stream, but when it does, it always fills my heart so deeply. And that's when Lennon holds her cat up to the camera. And he just kind of sticks his dumb little arms out.
Yeah.
That's what I got tonight. It's Mish.
Michelle.
Kind of just looks like Mish wearing like a like a bathing suit top.
I was gonna draw Lennon's face like here, but I was like, nah, there's not enough time.
But I mean, the hands just need fingers.
Fingers are hard, Yanis. You join the art
lines.
Fuck. All right, fine. Watch me fucking bail on this. All right.
No, don't bail on it.
No. You know, okay. No, wait. Now they need
criticism.
Okay, look, that's them with the lines. That's bad.
That's still better.
Look, okay. Now I'm gonna put little fingernails on it,
mermaid.
which is gonna make it really horrific. Oh no! Now they're getting too real. Oh no! Why am I adding knuckles?
That's pretty good.
This is not better. It is actually. It's bad, but it's better at the same time. Oh, they're really. And I only had 3 fingers. Well, you know what? Art.
Just tuck for art's sake. Back.
That's how she always holds them.
It's the chatWater art along. We do what we can with the time that we have. Okay. So
Michelle.
So we are doing the Feywild Arc Part 3. If you missed out on Feywild Arcs Part 1 and 2, they are up here on Twitch in our History and Lore section, as well on YouTube in our History and Lore section there. They're taken from chatWater, so you can skip out on the episode recap and just watch the lore if you want to. Also, after the Feywild Arc is done, I will be releasing the audio archives from the Feywild Arc, because this is the first arc that I started them with. I don't have the full arc, because I really started it at episode 34, which was Tim's The Adventures in Amonkhet, which is the first audio archive I did, and then I started doing everything after, because people were like, oh, this was really helpful, and then I just kept doing it. So I have audio archives for a portion of the Feywild Arc, and that will be up on YouTube as a YouTube exclusive also. So please go check that out too, which they have a lot more information, because they were recorded like 1 to 2 days after the session, and I have edited them and like listened through them and done what I can, but that's the deep lore. That's the Aslan lore that's like in there. So if you missed last time, we made it to the town of Alderwood, which is a city of druids, on our quest to go towards the Feywild to go seek out the corruption that Callie was experiencing, likely from Baron von Kron, her nemesis, who had killed the Order of Paladins that she used to be a part of. We had found that the town was plagued by a blight that had come from likely was seeping through the Alderaan forest, making people sick, healed a bunch of people. The druids are all monstrosities. They're not actually it's like a special, the Circle of the Bond druids that Tim and I are homebrewing. And we were told that we needed to go into the woods to find the Alderaan Gate to get lost. So last time we followed Callie, and we followed Finn and Callie, encountered some knights, wooden knights who had seemed to vanquish these fiendish guards, and the forest had reclaimed them. Finnan saved some bears and fought off some centaurs, and we ended off with Neppy following a creek and staring down what we learned to be a bone devil by herself in the woods. So we start off with session 41, which is called Beyond the Gate, happening on August 17th of 2019. So Neppy is essentially probably about 60 feet from this bone devil as it is crawling towards her, and she just kind of stands her ground. As it approaches her, she hears this buzzing hum around her, and she sees pops of light start moving in and out of the stream around her and then disappearing from view. So she's like, okay, what's happening here? So the bone devil crawls toward her, and she starts talking to it in Infernal. She's like, and she basically is like, my quarry is not with you. Leave me alone. let me pass. And I will let you pass. If you let me pass, I will let you pass. Like, we don't need to fight. And it asks her where Callie is. Like, where is Calliope? And Neppy's like, honestly, I have no idea. I think she's lost right now. And it's like, you're lying and blah, blah, blah. You know where she is. Take me to it. And Neppy's like, I don't know. Truly, I don't know where she is. You're going to have to go off and find it, and you need to let me pass. I'm going to give you one chance to let me pass. And it's just like, it's mad at her, and it's just like getting sassy, and she's like, I don't like that you're talking in riddles. And Neppy's like, I am telling you the truth. She is lost. I have no clue where she is, and you need to let me pass. And so then it charges at her. And the combat is really tough. Neppy sees some lights come up behind it, and they turn out to be pixies. So the pixies paralyze the Bone Devil and start like attacking both of them. They start attacking both Neppy and the Bone Devil. Neppy makes the saves, but it paralyzes the Bone Devil, and Neppy gets some good hits on it while it's paralyzed. And then Neppy fails one of her saves, and the pixie polymorphs her into a squirrel. So I was like, I need to get high ground. I'm going to scamper up a tree. So Neppy gets up a tree, and then the Bone Devil starts basically plowing its way through the pixies. It kills the pixie that had turned her into a Bone Devil. Turned her into a squirrel. Squirrel. So she jumps down, and then she manages to land 3 really good hits in a row with a guiding bolt and inflict wounds, and then she'd also brought up a spiritual weapon on the field as like to have another thing in, and she kills it. She kills the Bone Devil, and it was great. And I think Tim rolled really poorly for the Bone Devil. Like had it rolled better, it would have wrecked her pretty quick. But she was okay. So then what she does is she ends up taking the jaw of the Bone Devil and putting it in her bag. She's like, this seems useful. I'm going to take this. I'm going to just take it. And then she follows the creek and finds a clearing at the end of it.
Most of Neppy's bag is just filled with different people's skulls and jaws and bodies and bones.
Yeah. I mean, she's a grave cleric, though. Like, yeah.
But necromancy's gross. But
yeah, necromancy's gross.
I collect the skulls of my enemies.
Absolutely.
But necromancy's not so great.
Because Goddess says so.
Look, they're not action figures. They're models. You keep them behind the glass case. You don't play with them. You just look at them. They're pieces of art.
Brand new in bag. Okay.
This is a mint condition skull devil head. But if you animate the skulls and they lose 80% of their value, come on.
Yeah, come on. So we then flip over to Kokanee. So Kokanee wanders for a while, and he sees a grouping of birch trees that seem to be really, really healthy amidst a bunch of trees that are mostly covered in
Sounds
fungus.
Like he got the rough end of this one. I find a Bone Devil. What do you find? A bunch of really healthy trees.
You know what they say? If the birch is healthy, time to get stealthy. That's suspicious.
Yes. Suspicious. It is definitely different. So he goes closer to these trees, and he sees a stone statue of a dragon, except the wings seem to have feathers on them rather than scales. And its wings are outstretched, kind of like flanking and surrounding 3 smaller statues in front of it. And when we say small, we mean like these are like still 6 foot tall statues. The dragon statue is like 8 feet tall in the middle of this forest. The 3 figures are worn and look weather worn, but the dragon figure is pristine. It is in like almost identically, like it's pristinely carved stone. So Kokanee takes a look at the 3 statues, and one of them looks to be a statue of a woman holding flowers. She has big curly hair. There's kind of moss growing on it as well. And like long robes. And then the statue in the middle is an elven male, long hair, holding a lute. And the statue on the right on the other side is an elven woman holding the staff of Isilme. which is the staff of the moon that Kokanee had sent back to Velsum in our very first session. So, any idea who these statues are? They would be well-known figures.
Well-known
They're not
figures.
The gods themselves, and those are their various fucking seals that they done sealed Velsum with.
Or the
gooby, that big.
Oh, it's Melora.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
The guy with a lute.
Oh, that's Coralon.
Yes, well done.
K-pop.
The third one would be the goddess of the moon.
Yes.
Isilme.
Isilme is the name of her staff.
It's different.
Her
so
name,
when it's the staff of Isilme, it's not Isilme's staff. The staff's name is Isilme. It's very confusing.
And the owner's name is...
Oh, that's Yanis's car. Oh, Yanis owns that car? No. The car's name is Yanis. But you just said it's Yanis's car. Yeah, the car's name is Yanis.
Her name is a moniker of the word moon is in her name.
Yeah, I know. It's like Luminu.
Saloon.
Loon. Oh, fuck. Loon.
Her name is Saloon.
Saloon?
Yes.
Sailor Moon.
Saloon, Sailor Moon.
I'm never gonna forget that again.
You better not.
Sailor Moon.
Or she's also
Moon.
Or she's also known as Sehanine. Is her.
No, don't confuse me.
Sailor Moon.
That's my job. My job. There is also
Sailor Moon. Say the moon. Loon. Say loon. We'll get there.
Well, chatWater, we're getting there. So there is also a statue of a large wolf with them who he picks out.
Groombar, get my car.
Possibly Groombar.
Is it a Bugatti?
It's a Bugatti, the Viper of the Sky.
There's no Bugattis
and then the dragon must be Ayun.
Not Ayun.
No.
Bahamut.
No. It's Akkadi.
No, it'd be Garrick's twin larynx.
No, because it has
wings. Because he's a dragon. But it's a dragon.
Yeah, but it has feather wings. So
feather wings?
Yes.
Serpent of the sky.
It's not Akkadi.
It's a Bugatti.
It's not Akkadi. It is. He doesn't really know who this is. We didn't know at this point, but this is Io.
Oh, that's what Mama Dragon.
Hand of Io. Yeah, Mama Dragon.
Yes. So he investigates the dragon statue, and then trying to figure out what's going on, he lights a small fire. And the smoke swirls up around him, and air seems to push out of the dragon's nostrils, with the smoke being blown into the relief of a mountain splitting apart, trees emerging, and then the smoke kind of vignette disappears. So Kokanee observes this in front of him, and he's not really sure what to do with this information. It's still daylight out, so he takes a short rest and kind of waits till later in the day to pray to Arathis for guidance, if there's anything that she can give him here. And he feels her presence, but it's like beyond her knowledge. She's not really sure what's happening. My sense is that this was a meeting between some of the gods that he was witnessing, or like a depiction of a meeting that had happened eons and eons and eons in the past, creating the world or creating the material plane. That's what I think it was. And then he leaves and then finds a clearing about 50 feet ahead of him. We follow Spooky. After that, she walks following another stream, and the water starts to go from clear to like this darker brown sludge. And the water starts like moving, but it's like viscous, muddy, and it's dark brown and gross. She then goes to see a clearing, but there is a big tree in it. It's huge, like 40 feet around, and it is covered.
They say, big tree, time to flee. Don't go near it.
Don't go near it. Yes, get in your Bugatti and leave. Get in your Bugatti and leave. And the tree is covered in black fungus, and there are hellhounds that seem to be skewered on the branches.
Oh, that's good.
So like hellhound shish kebab on the branches, and there's about 15 or 20 of them hanging on this tree, and black fluid seems to be dripping from the tree and changing the color of the creek. Spooky looks at it, and it seems that what is happening is the tree sap is like the blood of the hellhounds is seeping into the tree, but the tree sap is trying to push the blood out and purge itself. It's like the tree has very clearly skewered these things, and it is trying to purge itself of what is happening. As Spooky's walking around, a couple of the hellhounds fall onto the ground, and she has to like dodge out of the way of them. And then one, as it drops to the ground, it explodes. And so she has to like get out of the way about it and dodge out of the way. And then she hears some howling coming from inside the woods and sees one of the branches dart off into the woods, like too long for how long the branch was. It just kind of snakes out into the woods. And so this tree is obviously very alive, very sentient, and is like, don't fuck with my forest, I'm going to kill you. And so Spooky gets the fuck out of Dodge and she leaves.
If you see a tree?
You have time to flee.
We see big tree, time to flee.
Big tree, time to flee. So then we follow Letters and Clack. Do you remember what happened in this part, Sean?
Yeah, 2 ghosts showed up trying to start trouble, and we gave it to them.
You did. You did.
And then we found the clearing. It was really, ghosts showed up and we just kicked their butts. Kicked their little ghost butts. It was a real team effort.
It was. So you, Letters and Clack were high on gloom moss at this point, which is mildly hallucinogenic. So they kind of travel through under a thick canopy of trees, and it seems to be getting darker as they're moving through the forest. And they notice a figure lying on the ground. Looks like it's passed out, but on further inspection, they realize it's actually a dead body, a humanoid that has been cut in half, like cut in twain across the midsection, like this way. Ashy pale skin, elven, and it's behind its eyes. It's like this pale milky white, and the eyes are just like staring open from the ground. And then they hear a noise. They're like both looking down at this figure, and they hear a noise behind them, and then they turn around and look up. And there is a ghost just like hovering over top of them, and it's what's called a death wisp. And they go right into combat. They end up killing the wisp and investigating the body. There's some gold coins in an unknown language, and they take those. And then Letters actually does his best to try and approximate a funeral ritual, like he had seen Neppy do. He tries one of her prayers, even though he doesn't know Infernal at this point. He's like, I'm just going to do this for Neppy. This account.
More things change, the more they stay the same.
And he kneels down over the body, cutting his hands, and then he lights a bonfire to cremate the body. And then he and Clack decide that being next to a giant smoking thing in a otherwise quiet forest is probably a bad idea, so they leave, and they continue on for the next hour and find a clearing. So we have all converged on this clearing, which is in a kind of horseshoe shape, and the grass around the center of the clearing is singed, and we see these 2 massive alder trees rising up that are creating an archway with like very thick brambles between them, and we assume that this is the alder gate or the portal to the Feywild that they had talked about. We all got lost enough, and now we've found this portal. So Kokanee is on one side, Neppy is on the other. Kokanee sees Neppy, he runs towards her. As he runs across the center of the mud that is in the like right out front of this portal, there is a dull orange glow. He manages to dodge out of the way, but this huge, big, mucky sulfur creature called a Thorned Sulfur Lord rises out of the muck, and it is like spewing like brimstone, and like it's like, imagine if you just mixed mud and lava. That's what it's like, and it's gross.
Don't care for that.
Nobody did. But Spooky got the kill, and we took a short rest after that. We all regale what we saw. Kokanee talks about his, and Finnan remembers that like the story of the Mother of Gods, Io. It's like almost like a fairy tale. But it's odd that Groombar was there. We're like, why was Groombar there? We don't really know. Neppy doesn't mention that she's fought a bone devil. She just didn't want to worry anybody. She's like, no, everything's fine. Oh yeah, I wandered through the forest and found a creek and then kept going. Found some pixies and kept going. She doesn't tell anybody that she fought a bone devil or that it was looking for Callie. She didn't want to alarm anybody. Letters checks out the gate, the Alderdon gate, and there seems to be this like putrid stench emanating from it. And we kind of are thinking about what to do, and we're like, okay, so we're just finishing up our short rest. Do we want to wait here? Do we want to rest the night and then head through the portal? Because we're all in various states of just having fought something. Some of us more than others. Neppy was like almost spell tapped at this point, and it was just like, I could use a rest. That would be great to have your cleric at full health going into wherever we're going. And then Finnan just walks through the gate. He got bored.
Classic Finnan.
Yeah, he got tired of waiting, so he just walked through, and we're all like, "Oh fuck!" So we just go through. So we're transported across the gate, and there's smoke. The air is really stinky. It's like very putrid, rotting eggs smell, sulfurous. The trees are massive in this area, and we look up, and it's like the sky is the wrong color. The sky is illuminated with this dull orange glow. We smell burning, and ahead of us, kind of on the lip of a hillside, we see this plume of smoke emanating from what we think is like a crater. We see that the forest thins out on one side and seems to like drop off, despite the fact that we are currently in a dense forest. The fauna suggests Feywild, but the stuff above and the smoke and the smell and the crater drop off says not Feywild. So it's a strange dichotomy. We're like, this is wrong. Like, this is not. Something is very wrong here. Callie feels some call towards this place, and she's like, I understand this place, but I'm still pretty blocked. I don't really know what this is. So we're taking a look around. Neppy finds the carcass of an animal that is like half sunken into this mud, and it's charred and burnt, but it seems to be fey. It seems to be a fey creature, but it's been murdered brutally with some sort of fire and stuff like that. Callie feels this burning in her chest where the remnants of the necrotic energy was. And so we decide to take a look around in 3 separate groups. Everyone takes a buddy. Kokanee and Finnan go off in one direction, being the quietest and the dexiest of our group. Callie and Spooky go in another direction, and Neppy's like, I'm loud, so I'm going to stay here. And Letters is like, I'll stay with Neppy. So Kokanee and Finnan go off and walk to what looks to be a drop-off point. They find it's almost like a piece of the earth, or the Feywild, has been ripped out of the ground and seems to be flying, like is levitated up and is flying, because they look over the edge and they're flying over a vast sprawling swamp and bog. Like, think of the end with the never ending bog from, or the pits of eternal
bog of infinite sadness, or
the bog of infinite sadness from the never ending story, but not the ooze one. This is different. It's not the plane of ooze. Not that we knew that, but there are slime pits and ooze everywhere, but it's not the plane of ooze. But it's like
probably that part of the hells that's next to the plane of ooze.
So at one point, there's kind of like a tree that if this is the land, there's like a tree that's on the edge that has like fallen down and is on like almost like a 45 or like 50-degree angle going right out over the edge. And of course they climb onto it to get a better vantage point. The landmass that we seem to be flying on is miles wide and seems to be circular, so it's almost just like someone just like cut a circle, lifted it up, and it is flying about 500 feet over pits of ooze and slime. So they can see creatures moving below. And with Finnan's knowledge of what he's learned in school, and by putting some pieces together, they realize that they're looking at the 3rd level of hell, Mineros. And they seem to be flying through it. So this piece of the Feywild is flying through the 3rd level of hell. And if this is what they think it is, so they're able to put it together, kind of, that the Baron, if he is involved, has taken this piece of the Feywild and is flying it, took it from the Feywild and is flying it through the 3rd level of hell to wherever he wants it, or potentially whoever he works for. And we know the Baron is kind of like a middleman at this point. We know that he works for somebody, potentially someone who runs the 3rd level of hell, who is the archdevil Mammon. But so flying a piece of the Feywild through the 3rd level of hell. Kokanee falls out of the tree.
Why? Does he get pushed, or
that's like the rock shifts suddenly, or like it lurches forward on its flying mechanism, and then Kokanee has to make a dex save, biffs it, and starts to fall, but he dimension doors back up with the cape of the mountebank onto the edge. And on their way back from what they found, they talk about what happened in the Earth Elemental Plane when Finnan broke hands and stranded Kokanee back at home and stranded us there. Kokanee tries to guide Finnan a bit and is basically like, hey, when we make decisions, we make them as a group. We all manage things together. We carry the burden of this as a group. And we don't take decisions away from each other. Finnan laments that Callie and Neppy judge him based on his age, of him being 16. And he's like, but I understand why they were upset. And Kokanee reminds him that for himself, for Kokanee, this group is all he has. Like, he's never had anyone before, and he can't lose anyone now. It's like these people are all so important to him that he can't lose anyone. And when he landed back in Kamea's yard, after being sent back, he thought he'd lost everything after just finding it. After just finally feeling comfortable. And he's like, after feeling as safe as he could with the people that he cares for, he thought he'd lost it. And he thought that we were all going to die. And that he wouldn't be able to save them. And then when he says to Finnan, like, when Neppy sent to me, he's like, I knew I had to protect her so that she could protect the rest of the group. And Finnan is like, what is going on between you and Neppy? And Kokanee's like, I love her. She's my light. I'm with her. We're together. And Finnan's like, oh, cool. Great for you. And Kokanee's like, yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And that's why I can't lose her. I have never had anyone before. And probably will never have anyone like her ever again. So I can't lose her. And Finnan's like, I get it. I'm sorry. Yeah. He's like, I get it. I'm sorry. And I think they mend at that point because I think there was still a bit of tension there.
There's one thing that Kokanee Buckwild is good at. It's mending.
He can dual cast it. So
I would like to cast Mend on Finnan, please.
Can I cast Mend on our relationship, please? So then we flip over back to Neppy and Letters. Neppy is like pacing. She is just like pacing back and forth. She has no chill. She is just like walking back and forth, just being like, I can't see them. I don't know where they are. Like, this is not good. I don't feel good about this. And Letters is like, Neppy, you gotta calm down. You gotta chill. And she's like, I can't chill. That is my literal job. Is like, I am the one person who doesn't get to chill. She doesn't say it in those words. She talks about her work. She talks about in times like these, like she is the one who takes the worry. She's like, that's who I am. That is my role. I take on the worry. I keep everyone safe so that they can go do the things that they need to do. And she's like, this is seeming harder and harder every day. I can't be in 5 places at once, and I can only do so much, and it doesn't ever seem to be like enough. And she also tells like Letters about it, and she's like, I've never had anyone like this to lose. It's always just been my faith and my order, and that's it. And I've never had friends, people I love, people I care for, to lose. So, and Letters is like, they talk through it, and Letters tells her a bit about what he tried to do in the woods, and they bond over that a little bit, which is really nice. And then we flip over to Spooky and Callie. So they go in the other direction. So it's like Kokanee and Finnan have gone this way. Neppy and Letters stay in the middle. Callie and Spooky go the other way. They go and they start exploring this kind of like boggy or this like muddy area. And they find a small creature sitting on a log. It has large eyes that are like too big for its head, purplish skin, and it speaks to them in common. And its name is Gorple. And it's a boggle. It's like a tiny little creature. They're very cute. But as they come towards him, he gets really scared. He opens up a little dimensional rift and puts all of his belongings into it, and then shuts it again. And he just like sits there, and he's just like, he's a cute little thing. And he books it. He like lets them get a little bit close, and then they try and start talking to them, and then he books it. And then they follow him, but he ducks under like this fallen tree that has like fallen over like a little kind of chasm-y area that's about, it's like a 20-foot drop or something like that. It's like a 20 by 20 by 20 chamber. And he goes down below, and they follow him, and he's like, be quiet. If you're going to be in here, be quiet. And they're like, okay. And they're not quiet. They're not stealthy at all. I think they roll very poorly on their stealth checks. So while they're down there, Callie feels her chest like burning hot with the necrotic energy that the Baron placed in it, and she hears in her head, I see you. Spooky doesn't seem to notice what's happening, and Callie said she's going to go make sure that the other side of the chamber is safe. Once she gets out of earshot, she says aloud, where do you want me? To the Baron, essentially. Like, if we're going to do this, let's go. And she sees the vision of this fiery figure standing on the edge of the crater, probably 500, 600 feet away from them. And she says, I'll meet you. And she starts trying to climb out of the pit to go leave and go take on the Baron herself. So Kokanee and Finnan returned to Neppy and Letters, and they had seen... so this is all happening while they're walking out this way. And everyone's catching up. Kokanee and Finnan tell Neppy and Letters of what they figured out, and Neppy remembers stuff about Mammon and remembers that his epithet is the Great Collector, so that he likes to collect things. So maybe the Baron is working for him and trying to collect things from across the plains, like a piece of the Feywild. What a greater piece of the thing. If you want something from the Feywild, why don't you just have a piece of it? So we arrive at the cavern that Spooky and Callie found, and a plume of fire erupts from the center of the crater, like 500 feet away. Finnan starts flying up and over to take a look, just as Callie is about to start climbing out of the pit, and see that the forest dies out when it gets to a crater's edge, with trees looking like they have been ripped out of the ground. He sees, and he looks up, and he sees, like, if he's looking up into the sky, he sees this, like, massive rift in space. Almost like a kind of, like, diagonal rift. And Finnan comes back and kind of tells us what happened, and we were able to put it together that somehow the Baron displaced this piece of the Feywild, took it out of the Feywild, opened a rift between the planes, and took it through it. And now the planes, like the Hell, the material plane, and the Feywild are bleeding together, and that's been seeping through the Alderdon Gate into the forest. So we're like, okay. So we all converge down into the pit. Callie hears us coming back and decides to not climb out of the pit as of this point, and makes her way back down, not telling us where, not telling anybody that she was going. So we all converge down at the edge of the cavern, and we try and stealth our way in there to be like, okay, we'll take a rest here. We'll try and take a long rest, and then we will go and try and fight the Baron later on.
I'm guessing we don't get that long rest.
No, we do not. And that was the end of the session. So that was the end of session 41. Session 42 was an Adventures in Clore episode, the final one. And then session 43, the Battle of Brimstone, which happened on August 30th, 2019. So this is it. This is the final episode, y'all. This is the final session that we have to go through. Oh my gosh. So we set up camp with Finnan and Letters taking first watch. They hear trees cracking and breaking, and they hear the sound of fire. After about 3 hours of like sitting and waiting and trying to be quiet, they smell smoke and see wisps of smoke coming through the branches that are overlaying this pit that we're in. Letters wakes Neppy and to try and start getting everyone up, and essentially the top of the pit that we're in is on fire, and we have been encased and we're just surrounded now. So we wake everyone up and we try and get out, but as the side that we try and run out, we're blocked by 2 armored masked guards known as Maragon. They're the ones who have like the baby masks.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, so they're like big, beefy guards with like baby masks on, and their block our exits. The roof starts to collapse and a tree falls down that is now burning and on fire. So Callie sees Baron von Kron starting to approach on a flaming horse, which is a nightmare. And he's wearing jet black plate armor with an emanating red-orange glow in the center of his chest. There's a horned helmet that he's got with a huge sword in one hand and a giant gauntlet claw on the other side. So sword and claw, helmet, fiery horse. It's gross.
Good look. Not gonna lie, this
guy's. He's very, very, very well branded. Somebody put him together quite well. And then the battle kicks off. So we're fighting the Maragon, we're fighting the Baron. The pit is also on fire. So like a lot of us are just getting lit on fire by the fire jumping all over the place. During the battle, Clack falls unconscious and fails 2 death saves from a hit. And it gets to his turn before anyone can heal him, and he rolls a natural 20 on his final death save and pops back up to 1 hit point. Spooky, on the other hand, gets knocked out, and the Baron kills her outright. Basically, she knocks him out, and he stabs her twice, killing her, because he gets 3 attacks or something like that. First attack knocked her out, second attack failed 2 death saves, and the third attack kills her. And she failed a constitution save. And we watch as her soul is pulled from her body, and it goes into the Baron's sword, which is bad. So we're just like losing our minds about this. And Callie gets the killing blow, which I think is always so narratively nice. So she gets the killing blow, and basically what she does is the Baron was pretty bloodied at that point, and vines pulled open his armor. So like I think she'd like done so much damage on this one thing. So the vines from her sword pulled open his armor, and she just stabs her sword into like his almost flaming body, encased in this hellplate armor. And his last words to her that she could hear inside her head was, "It was worth it just to see the look on your face." Yeah. And then he dies.
Yuck. Fucking hate this guy.
Yeah.
Glad he's gone for good.
So as Callie drives the sword deeper into his chest, the Baron's sword, which is in his hand, shatters, which emanates this bright burst of radiant light as we see this flash pulled out of him and the orange glow fading from his eyes, and the black strand of necromancy leaves Callie's chest and pours back into the Baron before his eyes fade entirely. So purging that corruption from her. And as the sword shatters, small motes of light swirl out and around, and we see the souls that were trapped in the Baron's sword take humanoid form. We see Spooky drop back into her body, and we see the Order of Paladins that the Baron had massacred, raising their swords in these kind of like spectral, ghostly forms, their souls coming out of the sword, and they essentially just take off into the forest. They raise their swords and they start cutting down the devils that had been drawn by the Baron to this battle, and there's like hundreds of them outside of this pit, and the paladins just start fucking wrecking them through the forest, and we like clamber out. So we get Spooky back. We revivify her now because her soul's back in her body. And Callie watches this happen, and she's like on her knees in awe, watching like this order of paladins that she used to be a part of just reclaim their forest. And she feels a figure appear in front of her and hears, "Melora would be proud." And she looks up and she sees a couple of the paladins that she had known really well, and she's pulled up by Taya, who was her girlfriend at the time. And she looks down at the hilt of her sword, and her sword now has thorns and vines emblazoned into it, and a handle that wraps around, like vines that wrap around her hand while she holds it. And it is now, because her sword is one of those items that it's like a vestige, so it is now awoken. It was dormant before, and it is now awoken. So we take a look at the Baron's body, which is now seemed to be crumbled into like an ashy substance. We take his armor, we take his gauntlet, and we take his spurs, all of which have big evil energy to them. So his big claw, his big hellplate armor, and his spurs, which we figure out summon a nightmare, like the fiery horse that he was on. But we realize when we get back out of the pit, the piece of the Feywild is still moving. Like we haven't stopped anything just because the Baron's dead. So we go over to the crater, and we see this big kind of like, it almost looks like a piece of machinery, but it's like glowing like a purpley black color. And it's whirring. We figure it, Kokanee kind of takes a peek at it and figures it to be an engine of some sort, and there are like dead Maragon, those guards' bodies around it where the paladins have continued to make their way through the forest. And we see next to this engine there are cages of fey creatures that have been locked up. And almost like looking like they were ready for transport. So we free them. We free a dryad. We free a satyr. There's a couple other creatures in there. And we also see two people that we recognize. Our friends Alder and Arveldis. So Alder was a halfling druid from the very beginning of the campaign, and Arveldis was a high elf sorcerer. And these were our characters created by our friends Emily and Dave, who were from the original campaign. But when Emily and Dave had left the campaign, they had called, like, Alder and Arveldis had been called to the Feywild, and this is what had happened to them.
Oh,
and
nice.
Stuck here. So they'd ended up prisoners. And we figure out we're traveling through, based on what they say, we're traveling through the third layer of hell towards the city of Mammon, which is the city that we thought we were going to. So we look down at the cylinders. The fey creatures are all free, and we're like, okay, this is an engine of some kind. We need to stop it. And Kokanee opens it up and sees this large, black, flaming orb in the middle of it. Kokanee prays to Arathis for guidance, and she helps him see kind of the inner workings of the machine. The cylinder itself generated the rift for the piece of the Feywild to be thrown through it. But the orb is a conduit to what's happening. This, like, the machine that the cylinder creating, that created the rift, but the orb itself is the thing that's making this happen. It's the power source and also the navigation. Knowing that we don't, and like, we take a look around based on how far we've traveled from the rift, and like, we can see a city off in the distance. We're like an hour. We have an hour before this piece of the Feywild gets to its destination, apparently. So Callie literally reaches into the machine and takes the orb out of it. She just picks it up and she's like, we were like, what the fuck do we do? And she just like reaches in the machine and picks it up. She takes so much damage. She takes, I think it was something like, it was like 8d10 necrotic damage at that point, which she was resistant to as an Aasimar, but like does a lot of damage, and we'd all just been through a big fight. The orb starts to double in size, and then realizing that we need to figure out a way, like, it's almost like there's an intuitive mechanism to it, and Kokanee gets some guidance from Arathis, and Kokanee steps inside the orb. He's just like, okay, well, if there's going to be a conduit, he just goes, and Neppy's like, oh my god, what the fuck are you all doing? I can't heal any of you. Okay. So his energy starts getting pulled from him, like his vitality starts getting drained as he prays to Arathis and thinks of the Feywild. The orb is like this, like, pulsing, like, gray black color, and it starts as he sits inside it, praying and trying to, like, use his divine connection to Arathis to change the inner workings of this machine. The orb starts to shift blue. I think there was some religion checks involved, a bunch of them, and it starts shifting blue, and we feel the island, rather than moving forward, start to reverse and move towards the rift. The rift is now glowing a vibrant green. Callie is still essentially holding the orb at this point, and she takes another round of damage and falls unconscious. And Neppy has no healing magic at this point. She's completely spell-tapped, so she only has spared the dying. So she stabilizes her, and Kokanee is able, with one last push, to get also taking so much damage, he pushes the rift, or the piece of the Feywild back through the rift. And please, I just want you to guess how many hit points he was down to by the time we actually got the Feywild back through the rift.
69.
Nice, but no.
No?
Less. Way less.
4.
3.
Between you and me, Yanis, we're perfect. This is the thing. When it comes to the big test,
But
we'll
basically
get every question
useless.
wrong, but the exact middle ground between both our guesses will be the correct answer.
With a question with 3 possible outcomes, we will guess both of the wrong ones.
Exactly.
I love it. So we pass back through the rift and we feel the land anchor itself back into the Feywild. Kokanee, and then Kokanee takes another round of damage and then almost dies as he steps and falls out of the orb. Finnan then dispels the orb, and the orb is gone. Alder, now having been released from her cage, heals Callie and brings her back up and heals Kokanee as well. And then we all do so much praying. Oh gosh, there was so much praying that happened. Neppy prayed to Nephthisiket for keeping Spooky and the Paladins safe. And Kokanee prayed to Arathis, thanking her for the guidance. And then Callie did so much praying to Melora. And so as she's praying to Melora, this wave of green energy emanates out of the landmass, and the trees around this kind of clearing that we were in change, and they look like they're carved of the images of the paladins in her order. So they become kind of like a living chapel with statues of all of the paladins in there. And we take a fucking rest. Then we take a fucking long rest, unbothered. Letters and Finnan stay up kind of the night, switching off. They see some deer, they see some blink dogs, owl bears, insects. They also see the vegetation of the Feywild starts to choke out the blight that is on the trees that had emanated through, and any of the hellish flora that had been there before starts like being turned to ash. Essentially, and the Feywild is reclaiming their peace. And then at one point in the night, a night-like figure, much like the one that Callie had seen during her kind of jaunt in the forest, walks out of the tree line, sees the party sleeping, bows its head, and then walks back into the woods. So we spend the rest of the night unbothered. There is like nothing. We're just like, it's like quite peaceful where we are. In the morning, Callie shows us the statues, introducing us to each of the paladins in her order by name. She spends the last moment with Taya, giving her a quick kiss, offering a prayer to Melora, and the paladins are now deemed the guardians of the Green Chapel here to Melora. We make our way back to the gate, and it seems that the Fey magic seems to be reclaiming everything. The muck, the sulfur, that stuff is all gone, and we're still on the Feywild side. And so as we take a quick moment to kind of like be like, okay, we know that time in the Feywild, is a little bit wibbly wobbly. We know that we could have lost a lot of time while we're here. We also have no idea where this is going to put us. We may not be in the same place we left. So let's try and figure out what to do. We also have to think about the fact that there's going to be a vote on the position for Monarch in Wolfreen in a couple days. So let's try and take a moment to kind of figure out our plan. What's our next steps from here? Where are we going? And through this conversation, Finnan is trying to convince us that he should put on the armor, the Baron's armor. And Letters is like, no, man, like, give me an hour and I'll look at it. Give me 10 minutes. I'll look at the armor. I can tell you what it does. And Finnan's like, no. I'm just going to put it on and then we'll see. We'll see what happens. He's like, I could use it. We could use it to our advantage. And we're like, dude, you're not putting on the armor. Like, you're not doing it. And Neppy's like, you will pry this bag of holding out of my cold, dead fingers before I will let you put on that armor.
Then Finnan killed Neppy.
No, he didn't. He just get very, very huffy and angry.
Finnan?
Yeah. And he was like, this is what I was talking about. Nobody ever listens to me. And then he storms off through the Alder Gate. And of course, we follow him immediately because if we realize if there's any time lapse, it could put us in a different location. So we're just like, oh, fuck. And we just like run through after him. And where does it take us?
Great question. And I was there, so I know.
Yeah. Think about the arc. Think about the arc that comes immediately after this one.
Well, I mean, that would for sure be the Barmwich Arc Mate Prison. So it takes us to Barmwich.
It does. And we are now officially caught up.
We got there. If you want to know what happens next, we already did that. It's the Barn Witch arc. It's the Meat Person
Which
arc.
I definitely remember.
Absolutely. It was the very first arc we did in chatWater.
Yeah, I remember.
That's where Finn and met fucking his guy. That's where Letters met his guy.
There was a turtle.
Turtle?
There was
a turtle. It's wild. And it's all there. All of it. All of chatWater's there now. We got there.
Guys, we did it. I'm so proud of us.
I'm lost.
What will become of us now?
Well, there is the Quiz Bowl.
Welcome to Water.
Welcome to Water, where we get
where we just the show is now only 20 minutes long. We recap the previous episode. And then
No. We have some plans to take us through the month of May and the rest of April with chatWater. And I guess while Tim and I are on mat leave, we will leave that for we've got some plans in the works for some changes in programming, so we will see what's coming up. But in under a year, under 50, I think this is under 52 episodes, we have gotten there. We did it. We started the show, I think, May of last year. And we did all the lore. It took us a year. It took us a year to get through 2.5 years of campaign lore.
We is generous. I don't know how much lore we got through. But I feel like all the lore was gotten through. There you go.
I got through the lore.
Hey, listen, I had to sit through most of it. I include myself in that royalty.
This was actually a really good... This show actually has been a really good project for me because I had wanted to go back through my original notes that I took in the very first book, because I wasn't taking as in-depth notes as I started in the arc or two before we started streaming, and it was a good excuse for me to go through and canonize all of it and check in with Tim about it. And I'm sure there will be so much changing that happens when this campaign is over and Tim finally lets me have access to his DM notes. So I can...
Oh, you'll have too much power then.
No.
You'll have too much power.
How am I going to
write... He's not going to do that.
Well, Tim and I are going to write a campaign guide.
Yeah, after the next campaign.
Or after this campaign. We're going to write a world guide, like a campaign
But then you'll
setting.
know too much for the next campaign.
No.
No, here's the pitch. The next campaign, you have to play some kind of travel guide librarian person who just already knows
Neppy.
Everything about the world. No. Neppy knows everything about all the gods and stuff.
Yeah.
But this is a person whose whole gig is I am well traveled. Neppy is homeschool smart. This person is I left the house at 16, hopped on a freighter and just traveled through Eastern Europe for a year and a half, made my way down to the Cape of Africa. That is what, Emma, you have to play next to justify all the in-world knowledge that you'll know.
I don't know. I have some big plans for what I want to play for campaign 2. I've already decided kind of what the character is or what they do, what race and class and stuff like that for campaign 2. And I've got a little bit of a backstory brewed, but that is in a Google Doc somewhere, just hiding. I don't have to think about that for a while because we never level up. So I don't have to think about that for maybe 4 years,
My greatest fear is that someone else picks the same accent that I want to do for my character. And then just because none of us are that great at accents. So their not that great accent reflects the not greatness in my own accent. And I'd be like, oh no, now they're, I don't know, German or something.
You just do something on the fly and it'll be streamed?
I would just change it. I'd bail so fast.
You got to introduce your character first. You got to make sure your character talks
first.
Go
first, dude.
You got to plant your flag on your accent.
Exactly.
None of us can have the same accent. Unless it's just how we talk.
I have to be so careful because now almost every vaguely British accent that I do ends up slipping into Neppy. Or Mary Poppins. But Neppy is just a version of Mary Poppins. I have just started. I've learned according to my daughter. But yeah, I don't know. I'm so curious to see what folks will do for campaign 2, and where it'll be set and when. Whether in the future or in the past or concurrently. I don't know. But I mean, there's 12 years between now and that happening because we never level up. So it's fine.
It's true.
Guys, the Shadowfell's a dangerous place. There's always the possibility of a TPK.
Yeah, I feel like we're learning that. I knew it was going to be bad, and then we were like, oh, it's so fun. We traveled, and then Callie died.
If Neppy goes down, we can't leave.
Yeah.
And then it's just getting picked off one by one.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
It's if Neppy goes down and you can't revive her. Like if you can't bring
her
back,
no, I mean like down.
Dead, gone, like past revivify.
Then when you not revivify?
No, Kokanee can raise dead now. But it'll take him a day.
It's like, what I'm saying is when she's down, like everyone goes down. But I mean like down and not being able to clown around. Like your head and like you're vaporized or someone swallows your soul and flies away. Like
no one can plane shift.
No one can plane shift a Neppy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't even use the talisman. Because that only gets you out of the elemental planes, and you have to be in an elemental plane to get back to the material plane with it.
It's bad news. Anyways, that probably won't happen, but it might.
Oh, I mean, actually, you have
you could bamf to. Couldn't you use the
mansion,
the talisman to get you to the air elemental plane, and then
you have
chill
to be
there.
You have to be in the material plane, I think, to use it. I don't think you can. I don't know. You'd have
point is, we're past the point of no return, team. Yeah. The stakes have never been higher. Saturday, more Shadowfell, where if we die for real as characters, not as players.
Whoa. And
you die in the game, you die in real life.
It was
in
cool.
the game.
In the game.
I was flipping through the chat. I often just kind of flip through the chat after stream just to like make sure we've got all like thanks for raiders and stuff like that. But it's really cool to like at the end of the stream people are being like, well, fuck, I didn't expect that to happen. That's not okay. Tim, why are you doing this to us? Tim, we didn't ask for this. And I'm just like, same. But we came to the Shadowfell. This is what we signed up for.
I mean, you did ask for it.
Yeah, we did. It's fine.
I mean, you married him.
I know. That was technically before we started playing D&D. So.
You married someone you never played D&D with?
I know.
You can't
Big
do that.
Mistake.
I wasn't even playing D&D, but when we got married.
You weren't even playing D&D before you got married? Oh
Big
my
mistake.
Goodness. What is the world coming to these days?
Or was it? I think maybe we had just started playing, but it was maybe we had played 1 or 2 sessions.
You married someone after 1 session of D&D?
Yeah.
In a house of God?
We didn't get married in a church. No, thank you.
Did I say a church?
It's funny because where is it? This one, that picture there is from our wedding, but it's hidden behind a whole bunch of things back in the corner there. But yeah, no, Tim and I had just started playing D&D. Because we started playing in 2016. Yeah. So I think that's our show.
Yeah.
Like the whole show, like the general premise, like everything.
Yes.
That's it.
Importantly, I just want to say we recapped every session we've played on and off stream, like up until now, or everything pre-stream.
Yes.
And also we the early shit of chatWater, the deep lore of chatWater is the deep lore of the setting. Not to mention fucking game theory and educational history, plus just special guests, when we just talked about Wagadu, and that just became its own thing. chatWater's rad.
chatWater slaps, is the best. We will be doing a little bit more RPG theory probably before the end of the year. Before my maternity leave. So we have there's a couple more things I really want to cover. If there's anything that you folks would love us to cover around RPG theory, please feel free to let us know. You can drop us a line in Discord or leave it here in the chat and I'll pick it up. And yeah, I would love to do stuff on any topics y'all are interested in around gaming, talking about different modules. If you want to learn about therapy in RPGs, I'd be happy to talk about that. There's some guests we're looking to potentially bring on before maternity leave and stuff like that. So chatWater, we might be done the lore. I feel like I have to change the overlay now that says we got there. I feel like I have to change that now. I don't know though.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
We'll get to in true chatWater fashion, we will get there. Please come hang out with us on Wednesday for Behind the Screen with the GM Tim. You can find.
What's it like DMing a live drag queen D&D show? Yeah. I don't know.
Or DMing,
but we might collectively.
DMing live in like a space with audience around. That's curious too. None of us have ever done that.
So much COVID.
In the before times.
You know what? I still can't get my head wrapped around crowds. Or I have some friends who live in Australia and they live normal lives, and it is very uncomfortable for me when they post stories of like them going to sporting events or, you know, going to restaurants or seeing family. I'm just like, ugh.
I saw a movie where it was a guy. Just the other day, it was a guy just going through a busy train station, and he was like bumping past people. I was like, "You can't do that.
You can't touch.
That's
people.
Illegal." Yeah. You can't just rub up on strangers.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "Oh, this is not allowed."
And that's what COVID has done to us all. But yeah, hope y'all are being safe out there, that you and the folks you care about are super safe. Please come hang out with us Wednesday, and please come hang out with us on Saturday to kind of see what happens and to watch me cry a bunch again, because that's what happens. I feel like the sessions that have everything are ones that Emma cry in, and I just cry all the time now. So it's great. It's good. Yeah. Come hang out with us. We love y'all, and we will see you.
This is.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.